right, it is 5 o'clock. We will go ahead and begin this meeting of the Kokomo City Board of Zoning Appeals. I would ask if you have a cell phone just to silence that for now, and then I invite everyone to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 meeting of the BZA, a special meeting on and first, the minutes from the Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 meeting.
Easy for you to say, right?
I know, right?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the meeting and the special meeting.
Second.
Okay, we do have a motion for approval and second for the two meetings we had, the regular meeting, March 1st of 2022, and the special meeting on March 23rd, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, I will, as Mr. Sheeline reminded me here, we have 5 voting members on this board. This evening, 4 of those voting members are here. So I would like to point that out to petitioners that, it takes 3 votes in favor of a case to approve that. So sometimes petitioners would rather make sure they have 5 people who are voting. So that's your prerogative as a petitioner. If you would like to ask for continuance when we call your case, just come forward and you'll let us know that you'd like to continue your case until hopefully next month we'll have the full board. But you do have 4 voting members here this evening. Our first case this evening is case P05-V-22.
Actually, Mr. President, by way of the petitioner, we are going to remove that case from the agenda. Mr. Ellis has decided not to pursue the variance, so we will not be hearing that case. So if anyone is here for case P05-V-22, it's Richard Ellis at 3207 Susan Drive. That case is being removed from the agenda and will not be heard.
Okay, thank you.
So our next case is case P06-V-22, petition of Trip Engineering and Consulting requesting a variance of 75% to section 6.48E parking standards and a variance of 11% to section 3.32 maximum lot coverage. This is at 2000 South Washington Street.
I have a motion on this case.
I move that we approve case number P06-V-22 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
All right, thank you both. Have any board members had any ex parte communication on this case?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So whoever's representing this case, if you'd step to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record and kind of tell us what it is you're wanting to do.
Tori Tripp, Tripp Engineering and Consulting, 401 South 2nd Street, Converse, representing the Good Eats Eatery. Do you want me to read the petitioner's finding of fact, or tell
Maybe
about?
just kind of tell us in layman's terms what it is that brings you here this evening first.
We're asking for 2 variances. The first one is the 25% parking not fronting a roadway. What we would like to do is face the building to the roadway so that all the parking then would be facing the roadway. If we were to follow the ordinance, the back of the building would face the roadway, and then the parking would be to the east of that, which would access through the alley. There would be access through the alley. I know that was a concern for a lot of the residents around here of access to that alley. So by issuing the variance on that, that'll allow us to place the building as kind of a barrier so that customers are not using that. And then the second variance that we're asking for is for the percent impervious. Ordinance says no more than 70%. We're at 81%. And part of that has to do with this is an existing developed site. In order to get the number of required parking spots we need, it puts us over. Plus, there's a dedicated right-of-way that allows access for the residents to that alley, and then that added to the amount impervious.
Okay, thank you. So with the first variance, for the parking, entrance and exiting would both be on Washington Street, is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yep, it'll be in that dedicated right-of-way.
Okay, so then that, you're saying then protects the alley from being used as often?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of clarification. Where does it say in the ordinance the building has to face the other way? It says 25% of the parking has to be in front of the building. It doesn't say the orientation of the building.
Right, but I guess for this, the way the lot's configured, if we were to get all the parking in, we'd have to turn the building so that the back would face Washington, so then the parking would be on the alley side instead of having the building on the alley side.
I respectfully disagree with what you said, but the ordinance does not say that the building, it says 25% of the parking has to be in front, is what it says. Now, how you configure that, that's up to you, but to say that the ordinance says it has to be the back of the building is not a true statement.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the board at this point?
You say that you're gonna have another drive off of Washington Street there?
No, there's an existing entrance for the gas station that sits to the south. And Scott did a dedicated right-of-way for access, and that's gonna be the entrance and exit for this property also.
So what happened was that there was, years ago, I suppose, there was some remonstrance when we went through the Plan Commission, and part of the issue was that there was an alleyway that was supposed to be dedicated to the public that didn't happen a long time ago. And, some of the citizens that live along that alleyway were upset about that because they said, well, this was supposed to be dedicated and it wasn't. Well, as soon as we discovered that, we worked with Main Street investors to make sure that that was deeded over. So now that it is a public right-of-way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So part of that, it sounds like that because it's a right-of-way and not owned by the city, that's included in part of the impervious lot. Is that a fair statement? Which is part of the reason, because of it's included, you need the variance.
Need the variance.
Right.
Right, okay.
Correct.
So we don't own it, but we have rights to it, but it's still included on their petition, which is why they need the variance.
Right.
Okay.
That's the drive that comes off of Washington Street and goes back to
It
the
goes back to
alley.
the alley, correct.
Okay.
Will there be additional, like, curb cuts on Washington, or will that be the sole way to enter?
There's already two there. They're not gonna use them, but there's already two curb cuts there from
Yeah.
when the
But-
houses was there.
Okay, but, I mean, are you gonna use driveways also, or just this?
Just the dedicated right-of-way.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other questions before we hear the findings of fact?
You're gonna have a drive-through, you say?
Yes, it'll be in the rear, so it'll be the building, then the drive-through, and then there'll be a fence, and then the alley.
So the
The drive-through will exit on the north side?
It'll wrap around the building, actually,
yeah, and then this is the.
So I said that they're gonna come through the north side. Yeah.
so here's Washington Street, so this is the dedicated right-of-way right here. So the drive-through is here, and wraps around, they'll come back through the parking lot.
Okay, it won't go on to, this is
It
the
won't-
alley.
Yeah, it won't go onto the alley,
Okay.
so it'll come through here and then around.
And just so the board members know, this case is up for site plan approval at next Tuesday night's planning commission meeting.
Thank you.
Which way's north on this drawing for me?
This one is north.
This is,
Nope,
Nope.
nope.
This,
There you go.
this way is north, because here is the dedicated right-of-way, here.
No.
The
And then this is the drive-through.
handicap
So the
north, right?
north
Yeah,
now
no,
is this
so
way.
this is north. The left side of the sheet is the north.
Left side of the sheet's north,
I don't have that sheet, so what they're on.
Yeah, it's coming your way.
that's north.
Thank you.
Yep. That was easy enough. You wanna pass that down? Tina can check that out. questions before we get to the findings of fact? Okay, if you want to go ahead and read your findings of fact at this point.
The approval will not be injurious to the public safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The site fronts Washington Street to the west with an alley in the rear to the east. Per the ordinance, no more than 25% of the parking shall be in front of the primary structure that faces the roadway. Therefore, parking in the site would need to be placed in the rear of the structure in order to meet the ordinance requirement. We are asking for a variance to be able to place the parking along the front west side of facing the roadway. This will allow the site to function best while minimizing the impact to residential neighbors to the east by limiting the use of the alley with the building acting as a barrier. This is an existing developed site, and the ordinance limits impervious area to a maximum of 70%. Since this is a previously developed site, existing pavement is present, and when combined with the ordinance parking requirement, the site will have 81% impervious. The increased impervious pavement will not impact the adjacent neighbors as the site drains toward Washington Street. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including in all variants, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The adjacent properties will see no minimal change as parking will be confined to the west side of the building. A fence will act as a barrier to the adjacent properties by minimizing the use of the alley and acting as a divide between the drive-through and the alley. The site also drains towards Washington Street, therefore the neighbors will see no additional drainage. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction or a restriction of economic gain. In order to meet the ordinance requirements, the building would need to be placed along Washington Street with the front of the building facing east toward the alley. This would negatively impact the adjoining neighbors by making the alley more accessible to the restaurant patrons. Reducing the amount of impervious area would result in a decrease in the number of available parking spots and not meeting the ordinance requirements.
All right, I do have a question or something to point out that I think it's maybe typed wrong. Number 2, it says the adjacent properties will see no minimal change. I don't know if no minimal means there's gonna be a lot, so I don't know if you wanna change what we have here in front of us and what you read, to be, we'll see no change, or we'll see minimal change, or do you
I
wanna
think-
leave it no minimal change for the record?
I think it's minimal change.
Minimal change? Okay. We're good with that?
Ask the gentleman to your right.
We're good with that?
You're requesting amendment to is the petitioner requesting amendment to their findings?
Do we want to ask for an amendment to this right here? I wrote no amendment. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
What's the square footage of this building?
Do you remember?
Square footage?
You say there's gonna be fences on the north side?
Yes, there's going to be a fence on, well, there's one on the north and then there's one on the east for the alley.
So the alley and your driveway is gonna be separated by a fence?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
I know this is a BZA and not the site plan, but on this little, on the back, is the pickup window gonna be on the alley side of the building?
It's on the east. North side, yeah, north side, because they'll come around the building.
What's this other kick out that's
Where they-
12 by, 8 by 6? What's this little guy? This is
Oh,
gonna be,
there's a future cooler
Okay.
out on that back side.
okay.
That's the hash mark on the east?
Dashed,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, Any other questions before we hear the staff findings? Okay, Mr. Sheeline?
Staff findings for case PO 6-V-22, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. There are no safety hazards associated with the requested variances. The variances will not impede on any property lines, easements, or right-of-way. The variances will not cause injury to the surrounding community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting these variances for parking lot coverage will help infill a currently vacant lot with a new and useful restaurant. The restaurant will not negatively impact the neighboring properties and will meet buffer yard and landscaping standards. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variances are not granted, the petitioner will be unable to use their created plans for the site. The vision for this property is for a restaurant with a drive-through. Placing most of the parking around the back and side of the building would negate the petitioner's ability to put in a drive-through, which they need to be competitive with other nearby restaurants.
Okay, thank you. Having heard the petitioner's findings and the staff findings, do any board members have any additional questions at this point?
I had a couple.
Okay.
What's the seating gonna be in this?
And if you'll step to the microphone so we can,
Scott Pitcher, 202 Sandy Court. I don't know exactly, I'm sorry.
The reason I-
66.
the reason I'm asking is tied to the parking, so, or tell me how many parking places you've got.
It's 66.
Okay.
Plus the seating capacity.
Yes, sir. So they have to have 22 parking spaces.
Yes. The restaurants that we work with today, most of 30% or more of the business is through the drive-through. That's why they're important. People appreciate drive-throughs. This building is set similar to the way the building, the one-stop store next door is set. And the drive-through and the same, it's similar to what's next door, so it'll look like it belongs there. Thank you.
Mike, did you have another?
I got both parking and seating. One, they're tied in, but that's what I want clarification on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay, if you'll step to the microphone, please, and give us your name and address, and go ahead and ask your questions, and we'll do our best to have someone answer them.
Okay, I appreciate that. My name's Donna Shippey. I live at 1931 South Buckeye. I bought this property December 17th of last year. This is directly behind my property. Yeah, I didn't expect this. I thought I was moving into a residential area, not a business area. I do have a few concerns. I came back to Kokomo after 32 years in Indianapolis. I was part of a neighborhood crime watch. I know Indianapolis is different than Kokomo, but we were promised that there would, when Walmart came to 46th and Lafayette Road, that there would be security, there would be lighting, there would be noise ordinances. We were promised a lot, and we got nothing. So I'm here to find out, you know, just what's going on, okay? I've never done this before, so I've been listening and taking notes, and I understand the pickups on the north. With 66 seats in the building, I'm wondering about noise. You know, cars coming in and the noise level. I realize they're saying that they're going to have a fence. Is this fence, can you tell me how big the fence is? Is it gonna be a 6-foot fence, 8-foot fence, or a 3-foot fence, or?
It's a 6-foot.
It's a 6-foot fence, thank you very much. And the other thing I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking about the litter coming into my yard, because, you know, is there going to be someone cleaning up after, you know, people, I mean, like I said, I've been getting litter in my yard because people go to this thing at the end, and as the kids walk or people walk down the alleyway, they throw their containers that they bought e-cigarettes with and stuff you know, and I'm getting a lot of trash. And I'm going to put up a fence also, but I'm just wondering about security, noise, and litter. And, you know, with the fence, I understand the litter. What about security and what about the noise? Is this something that, you know, that the board addresses when you do this variance thing? Is that an addressable issue or not?
This board does not address those types of issues. Some of those can be addressed during the site plan approval, which is next Tuesday night. But the city of Kokomo does have a noise ordinance already in place.
Okay.
So if that becomes an issue, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, but a phone call to the police department could help solve those issues.
Okay.
We do have a noise ordinance. I'm sure there will be some lighting around the restaurant. I haven't looked at the plans yet.
Okay.
So I don't know how much lighting, but I'm sure there will be some lighting. As far as security, are you talking security for the restaurant or?
Well, just to make sure that, I mean, like I said, I realize Kokomo is not Indianapolis, but we need to make sure that, you know, that the rowdy whatevers don't, you know,
Well, I would,
cause an issue, you know what I'm saying?
I was in the restaurant business for 30 years, and trust me, if you're a restaurant owner, the last type of people you want in your business is the people who drive off your good customers.
Okay.
So I would assume that the restaurant owners would do their very best to keep that type of element at bay. I'm
Okay.
not saying that can always happen, because it didn't always happen in our restaurants, but you certainly, you know, you don't want that type of element in your restaurant, because it drives off your good customers.
Right. Okay, well, like I said, I'm
I
new to
understand your
Kokomo,
concerns.
and I got this registered letter. I've never had to sign for a letter in my life. And it said, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna come and at least find out what's going on.
Yeah, state statute, we have to send out letters to all adjoining property owners. That's why you received it, because you just pretend like the alley's not there, so that's why you received the letter, but that's per state.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, please, but the alleyway is part of my property and part of their property? Or is it a right-of-way? Or what?
No,
I didn't,
the alley is a public right-of-way.
it is a public right-of-way?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's
And
solved.
and it looks like, from the site plan that I've seen and from what Ms. Tripp has said, it seems like the new owners are doing their very best to keep the traffic away from the alley. I mean, it is a public right-of-way.
Right.
So you can't stop people from using it.
Correct.
It sounds like, and through the site plan that I've seen, it does look like they're doing their best to keep the public from using the alley as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for
You're very
hearing me.
Yeah, thank you for coming up.
I'll note too, at a couple of the prior meetings, ma'am, that they addressed, I think, not necessarily security, but this isn't a bar, so they're gonna be closed, I think, fairly early. So I don't think you have to worry about, I think it's like 11 to 8, maybe.
Something like that,
in
if I
there.
remember. Oh,
Something
okay.
in normal
They're not
hours.
gonna be
So
open
they're
till
not gonna. I
2 or
don't
3 in the
think-
They're not gonna be open till midnight.
Or no.
Well, I was told that this restaurant is more or less for the IUPUI, or, excuse me. See, I told that in Indy. For the IUK, students. That's what I was kind of told. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay, same thing, please, thank you.
Stacy Goldner. I'm at 1908 South Washington, just about 4 houses to the north of this location. One, I want to agree with the security. When the gas stations came in, we've already had one instance where there was a robbery where the Marathon station was previously, but that's neither here or there at this meeting, I understand, but I just wanted to include that. My concern is we are the ones that have the big, large fifth wheel trailer, and that we are utilizing that alley as access, and we're coming out that public access onto Washington Street. My concern, I appreciate the thought of a fence. If it's going to be 6 foot, is there going to be a blind spot coming around that? I know as the current gas station is there, when they're coming out that drive-through right now, they pretty much go whichever direction. There is an ongoing thing that we have a standoff with people that we can't get down the alley right now, and with a fifth wheel, we're not at the options of backing up. So we're coming around down that alley toward heading south onto Washington. Will there be a blind spot to where there will be traffic?
The zoning ordinance has a vision clearance triangle, and we will look at that on the site plan.
Okay.
Because there shouldn't be any traffic vision problems for an RV or an automobile. There's a vision
Okay.
clearance triangle that we do our very best not to have those types of issues
Okay.
coming onto our public roads. So
Okay, I
We'll,
just,
we'll certainly take a look at that during site plan.
okay, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Any other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Either of you have any other additional points you want to bring up? All right. Well, not hearing any other questions or concerns, we do have a motion for the approval of case P06-V-22. It's been moved and seconded for the approval. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, congratulations. All right, our next case to be heard this evening is case P07-V-22.
Yes, petition Torrey Tripp Engineering Consulting, requested variance of 14% to section 6.48E parking standards, and a variance of 22% to section 3.32 maximum lot coverage. This is at 2405 West Jefferson Street.
I have a motion on this case.
Move that we approve case P07-V-22 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
All right, thank you. Okay, if you'd like to step to the mic, here we go. Case 2.
Torrey Tripp, Tripp Engineering and Consulting, 401 South Second Street, Converse. This is going to be a convenience store and gas station. It's the old Key Bank, on Jefferson and Dixon. It'd be the southwest corner of that intersection. And so we're asking for 2 variances. The site currently doesn't meet either one. One is the parking variance, and not having more than 25% of the parking facing a roadway. And of course, this site borders 2 roadways. And the other is the amount of impervious area. So the owner is converting the old bank into a convenience store, and then he is enclosing the drive-through area to make 3 retail spaces. So we are shifting some of the parking that faces the roadway will go away, but we're adding some for the 3 retail spaces. So we are still over the 25% allowed. And then also with the configuration, we're keeping all the existing pavement. I mean, we're getting rid of some pavement in some areas and adding it in others. And with the reconfiguration and trying to connect areas together, because right now they're kind of separate, it increases our amount impervious from what was already there. But the amount already there violated the ordinance.
So you're saying that parking for the 3 additional businesses, where's the intended location for the parking for those?
Let me show you. So this is the proposed site.
Make sure, okay, we do have,
Okay, so this is Jefferson, this is Dixon. So this right here, let me get to the right. Okay, so the drive-through area is right here. And so what they're proposing is to enclose the drive-through area and make 3 businesses, and that they're each like over 1,000 square feet each. So he wants to put parking in the front here and parking in the back here. So this would be facing the roadway, plus we have the parking over here for the convenience store.
okay.
is the footprint for the businesses gonna be larger than the existing bank drive-through area? Or-
No. No, we're keeping the footprint.
Okay. You're gonna still use what was the drive-through bank entrance and exit is going to still be used for at least one side of that business, or?
Yes, and then one of the other things that we're proposing is to connect the back parking lots back here, so it would still have this area to be able to access these two for the drive-through area, but we would connect here. Because right now this is a grass area, so it's this area back here.
Mike, can I address this for you? It may help you. Scott Pitcher, 202 Sandy Court. When the banks sell these properties, you can't release them or sell them to a financial institution.
Realize
So
that.
the drive-throughs are negated, and there's a lot of market for small businesses and small business creation. So those are like 1,380 square feet, I think, apiece. And so we create a little strip center out of that property to fully utilize it.
And the whole purpose of my question is, we've got it now, and if they're gonna use that footprint, that's fine, but I've got that to go on, that they're not gonna come in 6 months or a year and say, I wanna build out here, and behold, when we're making this decision on that footprint's why.
Yeah.
That was my clarification request.
Yeah, thank you.
You say the front, the main, what was the main part of the bank itself, that's gonna be a convenience store, gas station?
Yes.
The gas pumps are gonna face where?
They will face Jefferson.
To the north?
Yes.
I think on our second diagram here, there are cars parked at the gas pumps, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Okay.
The plan, this is kind of a demo sheet.
I couldn't
so you
figure
can
out
kind of
how to
see
call and ask.
what's gonna go away.
Okay.
So,
Then the
this is
cars
our
will be slide,
Yeah, so
slide,
they're
slide.
gonna move,
orientation. There's
I
the
spent a lot of
drive-through.
time on this,
There's
they're
the
gonna move
existing.
these parking
So,
spaces this way.
Yeah, so this parking here will
So the
go
pump will
away.
be in here.
The gas
They're
pumps will
gonna be
go
right
in here.
here, but
And then we're gonna remove this
I
parking,
guess
but
it's a
move it
blessing
up
that
to
somebody
the
bought the
building.
damn thing.
In
So
today's
this will give us
world,
more
yes.
area right here. And then we will add parking over here and here for these
That's
businesses.
what these are back here.
Yes, yep,
What's this back here is gonna be? Anything?
additional parking,
It's gonna be additional parking back there.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
And just so the board knows, they have not filed for site plan yet, so tonight, we're basically looking at the variances, so they'll file for site plan later, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that.
All right, any other questions from the board before we move to the petitioner's findings? Okay, if you want to go ahead and read your findings of fact, please.
The approval will not be injurious to public safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The site fronts Jefferson Street to the north and Dixon Road to the east. Per the ordinance, no more than 25% of the parking shall be in front of the primary structure that faces the roadway, and the maximum impervious area is 70%. This is an existing pre-developed site, Old Key Bank, with parking already along Jefferson and Dixon. The owner does not plan to remove any of the existing pavement, but does plan to add some parking along the front north side of the site for the gas station convenience store area, increasing the existing impervious area. This will not impact the adjacent property owners, as the site will continue to function as it currently is, and the additional impervious areas will still drain toward the adjacent roadways as it currently does. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The adjacent properties will see no adverse change, as the site will mostly stay the same, and the additional parking will be confined to the north side of the existing building. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation should not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction or restriction of economic gain. Since the site will contain not only a gas station / convenience store, but also 3 retail spots, the parking and pavement will need to be reconfigured to meet the ordinance requirements. Therefore, we are asking for the site parking and pavement to be left as is with the addition of parking along the north side of the existing building.
Thank you. Mr. Sheehan, you want to go ahead and read the staff findings, please?
Yes, staff findings for case PO 7-B-22. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed variances will not create any safety hazards or impede on any property line, easements, or right-of-ways. The variances would not be injurious to the general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting these variances will not harm the neighboring properties or hinder their use. The area is already comprised of commercial properties with similar layouts. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. As the property is a corner lot and has 2 street frontages, the petitioner faced practical difficulty with only allowing 25% of parking in front of the structure. If the variances are not granted, the petitioner will be unable to use their created plans for the site.
Thank you. Having heard the petitioner's findings and staff findings, do any board members have any questions at this point? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to be heard on this case? Anything you guys would like to add? Okay, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P07-B-22. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the board?
I have no other business tonight, Mr. President.
Anyone else? All right, we gave you our sympathy in last month's meeting for your family's loss. It's, yes, sir. A motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.